Hello again and welcome to another live blockchain webinar. Today I want to talk about Cardano. Last week and the week before we had something a bit more difficult, a bit more dry maybe and very technical. That was the second layer and scaling solutions on Ethereum. Today, I want to talk about something that I find just really cool and exciting, and I hope to make you understand why it is actually so cool. So yeah, let's see what you think about that after. Give me some feedback. And as always, we will have time for questions to the topic of the presentation and whatever else you have in mind as well. So let's get started. So Cardano. And while we're talking about Cardano, we will also talk about Ouroboros and ADA. ADA you will have heard because it's the coin of Cardano, and Ouroboros we will get to in a moment. So let's start with the not so exciting stuff, but it's relevant to have an idea about the ecosystem behind Cardano. So Cardano has three founding partners. The first is the Cardano Foundation. That's a nonprofit, sits in Switzerland. It is the holder of the Cardano trademark, and it does what you would expect a blockchain nonprofit to do. It is for publicity and a bit for political stuff. Not so super exciting, but necessary, of course. And then there is founding partner number two. There are Imago. That's a development agency that has a share in Cardano, pretty big one, and could be described as the for-profit arm of Cardano. So they are also engaging with the old and new school industry, trying to get more corporations and so on. And let me just quickly show you the website of the Cardano, the team of the Cardano Foundation. So as you see here, it's a lot of chairmen, it's a lot of council members, and then we have lots of CXOs, lots of officers, secretaries, managers of this and managers of that. So all very important and relevant, but not technical, not so exciting for me personally, and not what I want to get into detail today. But for completeness sake, you should have seen it once. So let's talk about the basics of Cardano before we get into the really cool and special stuff about it. So the word Cardano is the name of the blockchain itself. Ouroboros, which you saw on the leading slide, is the name for their consensus protocol. It's a proof of stake protocol, and it's their in-house development. So they created this consensus protocol exclusively for Cardano and are using it on their blockchain. And ADA, ticker ADA, is the native coin of the Cardano blockchain. And it's one of the bigger and very successful cryptocurrencies out there. So I think you might have heard of that as well. It is, I guess it's a bit tricky if you're in the crypto scene to get around ADA, to not have heard of it at least. Should be difficult because it is that big by now. And today, Cardano is the third largest DLT platform, distributed ledger technology, the third largest blockchain that is after Bitcoin and Ethereum on rank 1 and 2, and before BNB and the Binance Smart Chain on rank 4. BNB, of course, also being used on Binance Chain, not only Binance Smart Chain. And Cardano is named after Girolamo Cardano. That is an Italian, Renaissance doctor, philosopher, and mathematician. And the coin ADA is the third largest coin by now, again after Bitcoin and Ethereum, and is named after Ada Lovelace, a mathematician from England of the time of Charles Babbage, who you might have heard of because he invented what I think is the first mechanical calculation machine, not something as simple as an abacus, but a machine that could do infinitesimals and integrations, differentiations, stuff like that. So pretty advanced mechanical calculation machine. And Ada Lovelace was a mathematician of his time who recognized that this machine, the analytical machine it was called, can do more than just numbers. So she noticed that you could do what we today would call programming on this thing, what we might today call a computer. That's why she has a bit of a name in the IT scene. So the choice of names might give you a little bit of a hint already what makes Cardano a bit different than the other blockchain projects. It all sounds very sciencey so far. And that is indeed correct and the case. So now I want to get into what I find really exciting about it, what is so special about Cardano. And what makes Cardano so special is what happens in the founding partner number 3 of 3. And that is IOHK, or better known as input-output. And input-output are the designers, researchers, and developers of and behind Cardano. They also do some other things, but they mainly do Cardano. And these people are professors, doctors, and engineers. So not just programmers and engineers, but proper scientists that work at or come from universities. And the founders, for completeness sake, also worth mentioning, of course, are Charles Hoskinson, a mathematician, and Jeremy Woods, and both are ex-Ethereum, so they had some good credentials already before founding IOHK. And yeah, the point here being, it's a bunch of scientists and a lot of them. And the engineers that they have are also of very high quality. So now let me show you the team to really underline what I'm saying. By the way, the website is just beautiful as well. It's just as sexy as the whole Cardano project is itself, at least to my mind. It's very pretty. But let's get into the team and get an impression of what makes Cardano so special and different. And it starts with the people that are Cardano. So here we have the founders, as mentioned, Charles Hoskinson and Jeremy Wood. And then we have some executives that are not so interesting for the point I'm trying to make here. The people that are interesting for the point I'm trying to make begin in the research part of this team page. And here you see professor, 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 professor. And then we have doctors in here, masters of science, and yeah, just academics, and a lot of them. And that is a thing that you don't see in all projects. And look at how many of these high-profile scientists they have on here. In the development, they have a huge number of really, really outstanding engineers, like a lot of them. Just look at that. And these engineers also have quite the credentials. So it's not just some randoms. It's really, really, really good people in here. They have their whole separate team for formal methods, which is a part of mathematics and informatics or computer science. And yeah, why they have that will become a bit clearer a bit further down the line of this presentation. But yeah, just again, they have 12 guys 12 people that just do formal methods. And this is basically going into formal and mathematical proofs of correctness. That's what those guys do. Then they have a big bunch for quality assurance. Again, a big number of people and good people too. And they have 8 people for just service reliability, which is also great. And then, of course, they have technical support and so and even more engineers and so on. So you see the point I'm trying to make. It's a big, big number of really extremely smart people, really big brains behind that, and a lot of them. And that is what makes it so special. And that's not the only thing that makes it special. What all these big brains are doing is also what makes it so special and so very different than all the other things, at least all the other blockchain and DLT projects that I personally am aware of. Yeah, let's get into that in a moment. So their research structure is that at the top they have their so-called senior research fellows. And those are world-renowned leaders in their respective scientific fields, by which I don't mean blockchain, but we have specific mathematicians, game theorists, psychologists are even in there, and a few others. Then they have their, the next lower rank is only professors, that is their research fellows, and that's, yeah, only professors. So really like the top of the crop. And then their baseline of researchers are people that have a Master of Science, doctorate, or a diploma. And of those, they have just so many people. So the brain power behind this project is, as far as I know, unparalleled in the whole DAT scene. And what these people are doing and how they're doing it is just very, very cool indeed. So let's get into this. If you want to make it as short as you can, what is the thing that is special about Cardano? The one thing that sets it apart from all the other blockchains, all the other DATs, it is formal verification. And that means it is mathematically proven correctness of the code itself, so the source code, and the concepts behind this source code. And by mathematically proven correct, I don't mean this is likely correct because 100 or 1,000 people looked at it and didn't find any fault. No, what I mean by this is it is as correct as the theorem of Pythagoras, for example. And it is proven correct. It can never not be correct because that's what a mathematical proof is all about. Like it's 100% for sure. It's impossible to be wrong once it's been proven mathematically correct. And every single idea that gets implemented undergoes, in Cardano, in this project, undergoes the scientific process before implementation is even considered. And that means that it has to be formulated, and then it has to be given with an attempted proof of correctness of the formulation. And also it should explain why this idea that is being formulated and try to be proven correct is a good idea. And then it undergoes peer review, as things in the hard sciences do, which means that's a constant process of attack and defense. And this you can imagine as people supply an idea and say, so we have a thought here, we think, for example, this idea could make for good performance in the blockchain, and here's why we think this is a good idea, and why we think it's correct as well. And then a bunch of these super smart people will come together and try to attack it and punch holes into this and find flaws, find logical errors, maybe calculation errors. And the team that, or the people that made this concept will then, if necessary, try to defend it. Or if they can't because proper flaws are found, then they will just scrap it and throw it away. This is the scientific method, and they use it to check all the ideas and implementations of ideas that they are doing. And that also is a thing that sets Cardano apart. Of course, in the open source space, you also have reviews of source code, but not to this level of attack and defense, where really the goal of the peer review is basically to destroy the idea, to prove it wrong. And if they can't do that, then it might be a good idea, maybe. So that's how that goes. And the correctness of these ideas or assumptions made has to be shown even before implementation is considered in the first place, as I said. And if implementation is considered and decided to be a good idea and then actually started, then the correctness of the source code written also has to be and is formally verified before use. So the source code is then the implementation, of course, of these ideas or assumptions that have made it through the gauntlet of the scientific method. And that the source code itself is formally verified. That means also mathematically proven correct, yeah, which is a thing that you literally cannot even do with most kind of source code. So with a C source code or a Java source code, you literally cannot prove the code mathematically correct. That's just not possible with most programming languages. With the one used here, it is possible and done. And this makes it so that most classes of bugs that are even possible in computer source code and program code are excluded. They are theoretically impossible. So most bugs that you can make in all kinds of regular programming, you literally cannot make in this, because the system that will then formally prove your code correct will say, you got an error here. This is not 100% correct. There might be a bug. And it might be ultra rare for this bug to ever happen, but the formal verification system will catch it and thus make it literally impossible to make most mistakes that are made commonly and also not so commonly in programming in general. And that's just really great. And this is what I mean by proven correct, verified correct. And this is really what the guys behind Cardano wanted to make from the start. That's their basis. So their main focus is the security, the absolute security, the absolute freedom of mistakes, errors, and bugs of all kinds. That's why they chose to do it this pretty difficult and hard to do way. By first having every single idea and concept undergo the scientific method and then prove the source code itself correct as well. So how is this possible? This is possible because Cardano chose to use Haskell as a programming language. Haskell is a programming language that was released in 1990. It's a functional language. That means it doesn't depend on any state surrounding it or state on the computer system that it's running on or the blockchain that it's running on, for that matter. The results, the output of functional programming languages, functional programs, always only depends on the input data. And it's also very strongly typed. This means that, for example, you can never make an integer, you cannot like that, make an integer which is a number without decimals into a floating point, which is a number with decimals. For example, in JavaScript, they are the same. So JavaScript is not typed as a comparison. And Haskell is based on lambda calculus. You really don't have to remember that, but it does explain why Haskell is so uniquely suited to do this type of extremely correct code, which is of course desirable in a financial environment or a blockchain system that is used for other things than finances as well. This lambda calculus from the 1930s is a formal mathematical language to examine functions, and that can be mathematical or logical functions. And this is what the programming language Haskell is based on. And all of these properties of Haskell are what makes it so that the code written in it can be formally mathematically proven to be absolutely 100% correct and free of all kind of thinkable bugs. And yeah, that's a very special thing about the language, and that is why the Cardano project chose to use it. And let's have a look into the languages that you can use to write smart contracts on Cardano. This is first and foremost Plutus. Plutus is their own development. It is based on Haskell. So you see it's not Solidity as is used on Ethereum. And this Plutus language, Haskell-based, as I said, is also formally verifiable. So again, your smart contract source code can be proven to be correct and bug-free and unattackable. And that's just a great thing. That is impossible on Ethereum, for example. And this is the main language in which Cardano smart contracts are written, or are supposed to be written at least. Then there's Marlow. And Glow, just for completeness sake, Marlow is a domain-specific language. Domain-specific language means you can't do a lot with it. You can do only very specific things. But these things you can do very safely and very efficiently. And Marlow is made for financial instruments. That means you could not create, for example, a CryptoKitties clone on Cardano in Marlow. That just wouldn't work. It doesn't have the tools to do it. It's not general enough of a language to do so, but you can implement swaps, you can implement transfers and other financial things like long options, short options, and so on. This you can do very well in Marlow. And then there is Glow. Oh, and Marlow is also embedded in Haskell, which again makes it very secure. And then there is Glow, which is again a domain-specific language, but not so much for financial instruments only, but for dApps, a bit more generalized. And the interesting thing here is that it's not only the on-chain code that you can write in Glow, but is also the client or the front-end code that you can write in Glow. And Glow is again, as is Plutus, Haskell-based, and therefore again formally verifiable. So again, this code, so the on-chain and the off-chain code that you write in Glow can be proven correct and bug-free. And that again is a thing that is just not the case. It's just not possible on other blockchains or DLTs. And that really, for me personally, is the core of why Cardano is so very cool. It's just a bunch of scientists that said, how would you do it perfectly, basically? What's the single best way to go about developing a DLT? And that's with the scientific method, and then they just go ahead and do exactly that, and I love it. I personally am a big fan of the whole concept behind it, and I think it's just great. That's not a market or buy tip, by the way. I don't give those, but I do love Cardano for sure. So enough about that. Now let me wrap this up with a few things that you might find more interesting and that are not so technical again. ERC20 tokens are coming to Cardano. So they are working on a converter, they call it, an ERC20 converter, which allows us to, or allows you also to bring ERC20 tokens from the Ethereum blockchain, or also Binance Smart Chain maybe, over to the Cardano chain. And they have a virtual machine for Ethereum source code, for smart contract source code from Ethereum, the so-called Solidity code. And yeah, that means they have their own EVM, Ethereum virtual machine. They call it the KEVM. And it's called the KEVM because this EVM is written in the language K, which is not well known. It's again a language that is strongly typed, and the point of K is to be super correct, super safe, super secure. That's the main focus of that language. Again, unlike the most low-level mainstream languages, like for example C. And the point of this ERC20 converter and this Ethereum virtual machine on Cardano is to show that they are opening and are open basically to the whole Ethereum ecosystem as well. Existing projects on Ethereum can, if they want this, just move over and run the same code on Cardano. And this will help Cardano grow and get adoption even faster than the native Cardano projects are doing already. So I think it's a good boost in adoption and in growth for the whole platform. But native development is also picking up very much. So Cardano is really gaining some steam and more fans. I think rightfully so, because it is really good. And as I said, Cardano is by now the #3 blockchain. It's also the ADA is the #3 coin. And the research that the IOHK does is just very cool as well. So they have a lot of videos on their website, which I recommend if you're interested in getting a bit deeper into, for example, their proof of stake protocol Ouroboros, or their delegation and staking pools. Oh, that's a good thing I should mention. All Cardano holders can delegate. It's a proof of stake, right? So that means you can stake or delegate to a staker your ADA tokens to help secure the network, and with that also earn some rewards for doing so. And they have a huge library of videos as well as scientific papers. And if you're interested in blockchain stuff and DLT stuff that goes really a bit deeper, have a look. You will have a lot of fun, a lot of time looking into many things that they show off here. So they do just great research as well. It's really, really, really cool. And with this, I think I am at the end of this presentation. Yes, I am. So to wrap up this, why is Cardano so awesome and so cool? It's a big, big bunch of really, really good and super smart scientists, like proper scientists, professors, doctors, engineers, masters of science, and so on, that are developing a blockchain that itself and also the smart contracts on it are proven and provably correct and bug-free. And as far as I know, no other thing does that. And that's just, I just love it. It's super cool. It's super awesome. And with this, yes, I am now done with telling you how awesome I think Cardano is. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Now, as per usual, we have time to look at some questions if any came up. Let me look at the chat if questions came up so far or are coming up now, because we have quite a bit of time left over now if you're interested. And in general, just hi to all the people that came a bit later as well. Greetings to India, nice to see you here as well. Ah, Waterstar, that is cool to see you. I remember you from the boat trip in Dubai. Very nice to see you here. That is cool. Yeah, so now I will, as per usual, wait a few minutes, maybe 3, maximum 5, to see if any questions come up. Feel free to ask questions about Cardano, but do feel free to ask questions about other things as well. Technical questions, or maybe not so technical, I try my best to answer. The only thing that is not so welcome is support questions here, because that makes the stream a bit boring. Yes, indeed, knowledge is power. I agree with that. It sure is. It is cool to see India getting into crypto more and more. That is definitely cool and exciting. Also because India is a huge country, of course, with a big number of people. It's a big, big untapped market. That's really cool. That's not quite untapped, but there's a lot of potentials still there. Well, future price of Cardano, I really can't say. Nobody can say. Quite simple, right? Nobody can say. I don't like to give market tips because I am personally the worst investor, the worst trader that I know. Really, everybody else does better with that than I do. What I can say is that Cardano has come to be the number 3 DLT, number 3 blockchain, and ADA is the number 3 currency, cryptocurrency. And I don't see this changing anytime soon. So the top 3 are and will, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, be for quite a while, so years and years, will be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. And the Cardano ecosystem is just now starting to really, really, really grow and yeah, get into it. So there's launch pads on Cardano. More and more projects are launching on Cardano just because it is so good. With the possibilities that are now, they are relatively fresh and new for Ethereum projects to just literally run their existing source code on Cardano. This will give a good boost again. So I can't imagine Cardano ADA price not going up, but that's really not a tip or anything. If it goes down, I mean, it's your own fault. I am the worst trader and investor I know, so keep that in mind. How can DeFi be used in CBDC, central banking digital currencies? That is a good question. It's a tricky one, really, because central banking currencies, of course, will not be decentralized, right? That's why why the DC in CBDC does not stand for decentralized currency, but for digital currency, which is a big, big, big difference. And I mean, the central banks are literally, together with all the banks, the biggest and worst enemies of anything and everything decentralized and decentralization. It's literally the opposite of what gives them power and has given them power for so long. And that's also why governments are not the biggest fans of decentralized cryptocurrencies. They love the centralized digital currencies because they control this. So I don't really know. I don't really know where the journey is going with the central banking digital currencies, like with the Chinese digital yuan, with the digital euro, and so on. I can imagine that they might be used pretty much like fiat is used today in DeFi, which means it's used for nothing else but to get into the DeFi and to buy truly decentralized currencies and then work in DeFi with those. That's what I think. But I mean, I really can't predict the future, obviously. I cannot say that. But it is a good question and an interesting thing to watch. That is for sure. Is there some kind of teaming up with Cardano and Market Peak? Not as of right now. Not as of right now. What I can say is Cardano is extremely cool. I love it. I find it super exciting, super brilliant. And I can also say that we took the opportunity to put our peak token and also parts of our ecosystem, first and foremost for now, the staking, onto the Binance Smart Chain because it was a good idea at the time. And well, who knows what the future brings? What we can say is that Cardano is growing, the ecosystem is growing, and Cardano is super exciting. Everybody at Market Peak finds it super exciting. So I'm never say never, never say never. But right now, there's nothing in the pipeline there. And that Cardano allows Ethereum source code to run, Solidity source code to run, is a pretty new thing as well. I will give you 2 more minutes for any other questions that might come to mind. The topic for next week will be internet computer, because that is a project that, for me personally, came out of nowhere and is just huge all of a sudden. Lots of people talk about it. There's interesting people behind internet computer. And a lot of people also asked me to talk about internet computer. So that's what we will do next week, just as a heads up. Okay, it does not seem like more questions are coming up. So I wait 1 more minute, and then I will go offline and enjoy my evening. And I thank you all for watching. I wish you a good evening, day, or morning, depending on where you are. There's another question. All righty. Is there a projection as to the price of market peak token? I mean, there's wishes, of course, wishes and ideas. I think that it's really difficult to say, because you will nail us down. Actually, no, I will not say anything to that, because if it then doesn't happen, people like to complain and get angry, although it was never a promise. What I can say is that the crash that the whole crypto market is in right now, nobody saw that coming. We were all expecting that for after August at the earliest. Now it went down massively and destroyed the last goal that we have set, or not destroyed, but postponed for sure. The last price goal that we had set for the market peak token, that we were pretty close to reaching. We were over 80 cents for a while, so that was pretty cool. You might now be able to infer what the goal has been, and it still is, but I really can't say when. What I can say definitely is that the market, that the peak DeFi token has, look it up on Ethos, look it up on CoinMarketCap, right? Look at the price graph. It has grown steadily, starting at 5 cents 2 years ago. And now it is where it is. You can look that up, and it has had a high of over 80 cents, which is pretty cool. And so this very steady and stable growth is a thing that not many cryptocurrencies can do, actually, or have done. That's one cool point about it. The other point is that, yes, it had a price drop, obviously, and most things had a price drop, because the whole crypto market just crashed by about half, right? Or some things crashed by a lot more than half. And if you compare the drop that the peak DeFi price did with other currencies, then you might notice that, well, peak DeFi did not crash by far as much. So it went down much less than the whole market itself. So you could say, even though it went down, it definitely performed way better than the market did on average. So that's very cool. And I think it has a good future, for sure. I think it has a good future. If I had more fiat lying around, market peak, the peak DeFi token would be one of the tokens I would invest more in. There's a few others as well. I would also buy ADA, for example, and then a little bit more dangerous things too. But yeah, I think it definitely has a good future ahead of itself. And the community is growing massively still. The adoption is still growing very, very much. We have more users, more platform members every day. So I think it's good. But I won't say a price. When the cryptocurrencies will increase, is this a good time to enter, a time to purchase? Quite frankly, if you have fiat money lying around that you don't need right now, buy now. I would suggest that. The crash has just happened, right? It does not look like it's going down much right now. I can look at it right now. I don't look at it too much because it's not fun these days. My portfolio is down like 60% or so. Oh, it's recovered. It's only down 32% now. So it's recovered massively. That is cool. Yes, I would say by now, because it's already starting to go back up again. So I would invest now if I had fiat to invest. Yes. Don't wait, right? Don't wait until it goes up again, because why would you wait until it already has gone up to put your money in? That's a typical beginner mistake. The beginners, they are too nervous to invest, and I've been like this until very recently too. As I said, I'm pretty bad at this, but what I can tell you is don't wait until the price has gone up already and then think, oh, the price has gone up. Now it's a good time to invest. No, it's too late. The price has already gone up. You want to invest now before the prices start going up again. But the Bitcoin has already increased from 36,000 back to 38.6. So Ethereum is green. Most things are green again, which means they're growing. So yeah, don't wait anymore. If you want to go into crypto, do it now. It's an excellent time. It is such a good time to get into crypto. I did a few investments right before the crash. I wish I didn't. But yeah, go into crypto now. That is honestly, it's like with the stock market. If everything has just crashed and now is down, then it's the best time to buy, right after the crash. That's where crypto market is at right now. And yeah, if you wait with purchasing, I think you will just look at all the prices going up. And that means you just buy less if you buy later, because it will be more expensive than it is now. Oh, and maybe also worth mentioning, I don't guarantee anything, right? I really, really don't. This is my opinion. It's just my personal opinion. It's not the opinion of the company. Which would I recommend, Bitcoin or Ethereum? I really, really just can't say. They usually perform pretty similar. So it's rare for them for one to go up and the other go down. What is a safe bet, I guess, is to just diversify a bit. So why not buy a bit of Bitcoin, a bit of Ethereum, and why not buy a bit of ADA, Cardano, that I just talked about today? That thing is coming for sure. There's a few other good projects as well. You might, yeah, as I said, like I can't decide between these things. I really can't. I would just diversify, go into either just take a pick or just put some here and some there, because why not? As I said, price predictions I just don't do. I am pretty sure it's going up. I am pretty sure it will go up more than 100% in, let's say, less than 2 years from what it is right now, but I don't guarantee anything. I really can't predict anything. That might go down as well. Who knows? I really can't and won't predict the future. We had this question already. Will PeakDeFi come over to Cardano? It's not planned right now. I personally, as the CTO, the tech guy, I find Cardano super interesting, super exciting. I would like to do something with and on Cardano. I sure would like to do that. Does it make business sense? There's development costs, and then there's the opportunity costs. If you do this, you can't do that. So I can't say right now. We don't have it planned for right now. I would like it, but in the end, it's a business decision. It's not a technical decision. So who knows? Who knows? Okay, I give you another 2 minutes in case there's more questions. I will try not to answer repeat questions. That will make it boring for the viewers. Same again, which would I recommend, Bitcoin or Ethereum? I have no idea. My opinion about XRP Ripple is cool. Ripple is cool. I can't say much more because I don't know much more, to be honest. And I don't want to make stuff up that I don't know. I didn't really look into it too much, but Ripple is pretty cool. That's all I can say. Will it perform well financially? I have absolutely no idea. No idea. But I like Ripple. But yeah, I really can't say too much more about this. And yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I have no idea. I really don't. Usually they perform the same. There's usually not a big difference between those two. Also, for these questions like which coins, which tokens are good investments, I highly recommend the coin tips, of course, that you can get on the Market Peak platform on the higher levels and channels. Those can answer exactly this a lot better than I can, because we do have people that just look at the market, look at projects all the time. That's just what they do. They spend 10, 12 hours a day to look at projects, coins and tokens and the people behind those. And then the company gives out so-called coin tips. And so far, these coin tips have performed incredibly well. I myself was too scared to invest in the coin tips of the company I worked at, which was a terrible decision. What I can say is that the coin tips, the first 12 coin tips that Market Peak gave out, there was one a month. And when I was asked to run the numbers on how they performed, I found out that the first 12 coin tips, if you would have put $1,000 into each of those 12 tips, then after 1 year, you would have, I think it was $205,000 or $208,000. So you would have turned your $12,000 into over $200,000 because those coin tips were just incredibly good. This is what I can say. So go to marketpeak.com for those coin tips. Or if you're already in there, talk with your upline on how to get those if you're not getting them. And you don't want financial tips from me anyway. I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at finances. I am a tech guy through and through, not a business guy. At least not a finance guy. All right, I give you 1 more minute. As I said, I wish all of you a good evening, morning, day, whatever, depending on where you are. And next week, I will talk about Internet Computer, which might be a really cool project. I don't know yet. Maybe it's not, but I think it is. And I want to share what I find out when I do my research about that with you next week. All right, it looks like nothing else is coming up in the chat. So this will be my goodbye for now. Thank you all for watching. Very cool. Thanks for the questions. Also, that is appreciated. Some participation makes it a bit livelier. I like that. And yeah, I hope to see you again next week. I hope you like this. And that's it for today. Bye-bye and goodbye.